The moment didn't come with fireworks or sirens. It came with a calm voice, a legendary name, and a sentence that detonated the WNBA internet in real time. Larry Bird leaned back, spoke casually, and in seconds, Angel Reese's world tilted on its axis. No insults, no shouting, just one brutal comparison that hit harder than any trash talk ever could. Caitlin Clark is better. That was it. And somehow, that was everything. Because when Larry Bird says your name, it's not just commentary, it's judgment, it's history speaking. And the instant those words aired, Angel Reese stopped being just a struggling young star. She became the center of a storm she couldn't control. Phones lit up, timelines exploded, fans froze mid. Some cheered, some gasped, some sensed blood in the water. Angel Reese had built her rise on confidence, edge, and fearlessness. But confidence looks different when a legend questions your place in the hierarchy. Suddenly, this wasn't about stats or style. It was about respect, about legacy, about whether the crown Angel thought she was wearing had already been passed to someone else without her even noticing. Across the league, players watched, executives listened, media producers smiled, because they knew what this really was, not an opinion, a trigger. And once it was pulled, there was no walking it back. Because if Larry Bird just drew a line in the sand on live TV, what happens to the player standing on the wrong side of it? Before the cameras, before the soundbites, before Larry Bird's calm voice turned into a viral grenade, Angel Reese's story was built on survival, swagger, and a refusal to be ignored. She wasn't handed anything quietly. She fought her way into relevance with rebounds that felt violent, celebrations that felt defiant, and a personality that demanded space in a sport that often asked women to stay small. From the moment she exploded onto the college stage, Angel made it clear she wasn't here to blend in. She was here to be felt at LSU. She wasn't just winning games, she was winning attention. Championships came with controversy, confidence came with backlash, and Angel embraced it all. She leaned into the villain role because being loud was better than being invisible. Every stare down, every gesture, every viral clip hardened her belief that pressure meant power. She told herself the hate was proof she mattered, and for a while, she was right. But confidence built under constant fire changes a person. By the time she entered the WNBA, Angel wasn't just carrying expectations, she was carrying scars. Every missed shot felt louder, every criticism felt personal, and every comparison felt like a threat, especially one name that never stopped following her like a shadow: Caitlin Clark. From college to the pros, the narrative refused to separate them. One was branded relentless and flashy, the other was framed as pure, skilled, and inevitable. Angel felt the difference in tone, even when no one said it out loud. Praise for Clark sounded clean. Praise for Reese always came with conditions. Smile less, talk less, do it the right way. Angel didn't want to be corrected, she wanted to be respected. Inside locker rooms, the pressure multiplied. Teammates expected leadership, coaches expected growth, fans expected dominance, and Angel expected herself to be unbreakable. But when performances dipped, the noise got crueler. Social media, once her weapon, became a mirror she couldn't escape. Every scroll showed doubt, every clip replayed mistakes. The bravado that once protected her started to crack. Angel didn't just want to win, she wanted to prove something: that her style belonged, that her confidence wasn't a costume, that she deserved the same grace others received automatically. And deep down, she felt the league was watching her more closely, waiting for her to slip. That fear didn't make her quieter, it made her louder, and louder doesn't always mean stronger. By the time Larry Bird spoke, Angel Reese was already exhausted from fighting ghosts, fighting expectations, fighting comparisons she never asked for, fighting a version of herself that felt further away every game. She still believed in her talent, she still believed in her work, but belief starts to shake when legends stop saying your name with certainty. And when Bird chose Clark without hesitation, it didn't just reopen old wounds. It confirmed Angel's deepest fear that the basketball world had already decided who she was allowed to be. And that realization hit harder than any loss ever could. Because once doubt replaces defiance, the real battle begins. And Angel Reese was about to find out just how alone that fight could feel. The moment Larry Bird's words hit the airwaves, the temperature around Angel Reese didn't just rise, it detonated. It wasn't shouted, it wasn't disrespectful on the surface. That's what made it lethal.com/certain. Final. When Bird said Caitlin Clark was better, it landed like a verdict, not an opinion. No hedging, no nostalgia, no in my day. Just a clean comparison that instantly tilted the basketball world off its axis. Inside league circles, Phones started buzzing before the clip even finished trending. Coaches paused film sessions. Agents refreshed time. Front offices took notes. Because when a legend like Bird speaks that plainly, people listen and they adjust. Angel Reese felt it immediately, not just online, but in real life. The silence from certain voices grew louder. The usual defenders hesitated, and suddenly, the conversations around her weren't about growth anymore. They were about ceilings. On the court, the shift was brutal. Defenses played her differently, like they'd been given permission to test her patience. Extra harder contact, late whistles, and when frustration showed on her face, cameras zoomed in like predators sensing blood. Every miss became a headline. Every reaction became a clip. It wasn't just basketball anymore, it was an audit. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was everywhere without trying. Highlights rolling in nightly, praise stacking effortlessly, legends lining up to co-sign her greatness. Steph Curry, Charles Barkley, Shaq, Tim Hardaway. Each voice added weight to Bird's statement until it felt less like debate and more like consensus. And consensus is dangerous when you're on the wrong side of it. Angel tried to respond the only way she knew how: intensity, louder play, sharper words, bigger energy. But the harder she pushed, the more the narrative pushed back. Commentators questioned her composure. Analysts dissected her efficiency. Former players hinted at intangibles she supposedly lacked. The phrase complete player started circulating, and it wasn't attached to her name. Then came the first shocking twist. Behind closed doors, whispers started leaking out that changed everything. A respected veteran, someone Angel had looked up to, allegedly told a reporter that Bird's comments weren't surprising because people around the league have been saying it privately for a while. That one sentence ripped the mask off. This wasn't new. This wasn't reactionary. This had been brewing while Angel was still fighting for approval she thought she already earned. The revelation hit like betrayal. Angel wasn't just being compared, she was being quietly downgraded while smiling for cameras. The realization shook her, because it meant the room had changed before she noticed. And once the room changes, you're either adapting or being replaced. Social media went nuclear. Clips of Reese's struggles looped endlessly next to Clark's highlights. Hashtags turned cruel. Debates turned personal. Fans picked sides like it was war. And right in the middle of it all, Angel posted, not a statement, not a denial, but a single cryptic message that set everything on fire. Funny how loud people get when you stop being convenient. That post was the spark. Analysts immediately framed it as defensive. Executives reportedly didn't love it, and insiders claimed it confirmed concerns about handling pressure. Whether fair or not, the label stuck. The league wasn't just watching her game anymore, it was watching her reaction to being challenged. In the locker room, tension crept in. Teammates felt it. Coaches felt it. The air was heavy with unspoken questions. Was Angel fighting the league? Or fighting herself? Was this hunger or panic? And while Reese battled the storm head-on, Caitlin Clark kept doing the one thing that silenced everything: playing. No side comments. Just production. The contrast became the story. And the story started writing Angel into a corner she couldn't talk her way out of, because Larry Bird didn't just pick a better player that night. He shifted the balance of power, and Angel Reese was about to discover that once legends decide, clawing your way back isn't about noise. It's about surviving what comes next. The fallout didn't slow down, it accelerated. What Larry Bird ignited was no longer a media cycle. It was a league-wide recalibration. Every arena Angel Reese walked into felt colder. Every road crowd felt sharper. Chants weren't just noise anymore, they were judgments. The looks from opposing benches carried intent. This wasn't random hostility. It felt organized. Like the league had collectively decided it was open season. Angel tried to steady herself. But pressure doesn't ask permission. It shows up everywhere. In the huddle, in the pauses between plays, in the way officials swallowed whistles that once came automatically. Each possession became a test not just of skill, but of emotional control. And the cameras, they never blinked. Every frustrated clap, every muttered word was framed as evidence. Behind the scenes, things were unraveling faster. Insiders began whispering that the front office was uneasy, not about Angel's talent, but about the spotlight she dragged into every room. Meetings stretched longer, conversations got quieter when she entered, and suddenly, the language shifted from building around her to protecting the locker room. That change was subtle, but it was seismic, because once a franchise starts worrying about containment, trust is already cracked. Then came the second major twist. The one nobody expected, a respected league insider dropped a bombshell on a late-night show. Multiple teams had allegedly asked, off the record, whether Angel Reese was still coachable under sustained pressure. That phrase exploded instantly. Coachable. It was the word that haunted stars before careers pivoted sharply. Not unskilled. Not lazy. Coachable. The implication cut deeper than any stat line. Angel saw it in real time. She felt the narrative harden. Suddenly, her intensity was labeled volatility, her confidence reframed as defiance. And every comparison to Caitlin Clark sharpened the contrast even further. Clark was praised for letting the game speak. Angel was questioned for speaking at all. The league didn't issue statements. It didn't need to. Silence was the message. Social media turned brutal. Former fans debated whether Angel had peaked too early. Pundits ran segments titled Style versus Substance. And while Reese tried to push through it on the court, the margin for error vanished. One missed rotation became a viral breakdown. One hard foul became lack of discipline. The standard wasn't just higher, it was unforgiving. Inside the locker room, tension reached a boiling point. Teammates didn't confront her outright, but the energy shifted. Fewer jokes, less eye contact, plays called that didn't go through her. Whether intentional or not, it felt like isolation. And isolation is dangerous when you're already under siege. Angel finally snapped, not publicly, but privately. According to sources, a closed-door meeting erupted after a tough loss. Voices were raised, accountability was demanded, and Angel, exhausted and furious, allegedly asked the question no one wanted to hear. Do you even want me here, or just the version of me you can control? That question hung in the room like smoke. Because it forced everyone to confront the truth. Angel Reese wasn't just fighting critics, she was fighting expectations that no longer aligned with who she was allowed to be. And the league, quietly, was choosing which archetype it rewarded. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's ascent felt effortless by comparison. More praise, more highlights, more validation from legends who spoke about her joy for the game. That phrase cut Angel deeply, because joy is easy when the world isn't dissecting you frame by frame. The divide wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about identity, about who gets grace, about who gets patience, about who gets to fail loudly and still be celebrated. And then, as if to twist the knife one last time, a nationally televised panel ended with a chilling line: great players adjust, icons endure. The implication was clear. Angel Reese was running out of space to breathe, let alone evolve. Because the league had made its choice visible, and the next move she made, on or off the court, was going to decide whether she fought her way back into the conversation, or became the cautionary tale everyone pretended not to study. And just when it seemed like the storm had peaked, something far more personal was about to spill into the open. Something that would turn scrutiny into full-blown crisis. The reaction was immediate, explosive, and merciless. What had started as commentary turned into condemnation, and the public square became a courtroom where Angel Reese was tried every single night. Clips were chopped, captions weaponized, and narratives hardened in real time. Every scroll felt like another verdict. Fans didn't just debate her game anymore, they dissected her character. Her tone, her silence, her face when the camera caught her between breaths. The backlash wasn't one, it fractured the fan base clean down the middle. One side demanded accountability, echoing the voices of legends who preached toughness and restraint. The other side erupted in defense, accusing the league of hypocrisy, selective outrage, and coded favoritism. Hashtags clashed, threads exploded, entire timelines turned into battlegrounds, arguing over who gets grace in women's basketball and who never does. Angel felt it everywhere. Arenas buzzed with an edge that wasn't there before. Cheers were mixed with boos. Applause came late, if at all. Even neutral crowds leaned into the drama, waiting not for her highlights but for her mistakes. It was the cruelest shift, the moment when the audience stops watching to celebrate and starts watching to confirm their bias. Media outlets poured gasoline on the fire. Morning shows ran panels titled Pressure versus Poise. Evening debates framed her as a referendum on the league's future. Some analysts spoke softly about mental load and impossible standards. Others were blunt, questioning whether Angel could survive a league that demands emotional precision as much as physical execution. Every opinion, no matter how cautious, landed like a punch. Inside the league, the temperature dropped. Executives avoided direct comments, but sources leaked concerns about brand volatility and narrative fatigue. Those phrases followed Angel like shadows. Sponsorship conversations reportedly slowed. Invitations felt less certain. Doors didn't slam, they just didn't open as quickly. And in professional sports, hesitation is its own kind of rejection. The emotional toll became impossible to hide. Angel's body language shifted. She played tighter, faster, sometimes forcing the moment, sometimes fading into it. The joy that once powered her fire now flickered, replaced by a visible strain. Teammates tried to support her publicly, but the silence between games spoke louder than any quote. This wasn't just a slump, it was a siege. Meanwhile, the contrast machine never stopped. Every Caitlin Clark performance became a counterpoint. Headlines praised composure. Commentators applauded calm. The comparison was relentless and unforgiving, as if the league needed a mirror held up at all times. Angel wasn't just competing against opponents. She was competing against an idea of perfection she was never meant to embody. Then came the emotional breaking point. A post appeared late at night, not explosive, not defensive, just raw. A few lines about pressure, expectations, and being human under a microscope. Within minutes, it was everywhere. Some called it vulnerability, others called it weakness. Screenshots spread faster than context ever could. The message was dissected until it barely resembled what she meant. Angel deleted it. That deletion spoke volumes. It confirmed what many feared, and others ignored: that the noise was winning, that the weight had crossed from motivating to suffocating, that the league's brightest lights can burn as much as they illuminate. And as the public argued, the league watched, because the fallout wasn't just about Angel Reese anymore. It was about precedent, about what happens when a star doesn't fit neatly into the mold everyone claims they want broken, about how quickly admiration turns to appetite. The appetite to see someone fall. The only question left was whether Angel would absorb this pressure and re-emerge sharper, or whether the emotional toll had already pushed her to the edge of a decision that could change everything, because just beneath the surface, something irreversible was forming, and once it surfaced, there would be no walking it back. Just when it felt like the storm had peaked, the ground shifted. Late one evening, while debate shows recycled the same arguments and timelines argued in circles, a quiet move behind the scenes rewrote everything. No press release. No leaks. No breaking news. Just a sudden, unmistakable signal that something had changed. Angel Reese's camp went silent. No interviews scheduled. No appearances. No social posts. For the first time since the firestorm began. There was nothing to react to, and that absence hit harder than any statement ever could. Then whispers started. Not from fans. Not from pundits. From inside the league. Executives began canceling background briefings. Media requests were politely declined. A few insiders hinted that conversations were happening well above the noise level: private, strategic, and serious. This wasn't damage control anymore. This was recalibration. Angel wasn't clapping back. She wasn't defending herself. She was stepping off the board entirely. And that's when the narrative cracked. Because the league thrives on visibility, and Angel Reese had been one of its brightest magnets, silence from a player like that isn't retreat, it's leverage. Suddenly, the same voices that questioned her composure began asking a different question. What if she's choosing her moment instead of reacting to theirs? Then came the detail that changed the temperature completely. Multiple sources confirmed Angel had declined several media opportunities tied to marquee events offers. Players rarely turned down, not out of protest, not out of fear, out of choice. That single fact reframed everything. This wasn't a player spiraling. This was a player drawing a boundary in a league that rarely rewards those who do. Behind closed doors, the implications rippled. League officials worried about optics. Sponsors reassessed teammates wondered what this meant for chemistry moving forward. Because if Angel Reese, one of the most visible faces in the game, was willing to step back, even temporarily, it forced an uncomfortable conversation about pressure, expectations, and who actually controls the spotlight. And then the final twist landed. A respected veteran, someone with nothing to gain and everything to lose by speaking quietly, reached out in support. Not publicly, privately. The message wasn't about headlines or rivals. It was about survival, about learning when to fight and when to wait, about understanding that careers aren't defined by viral moments, but by who you become after them. That message spread fast among players. Suddenly, the locker room tone across the league shifted. Not louder, quieter. Conversations changed. Eyes opened. Because everyone understood the truth Angel had just exposed without saying a word. The league celebrates toughness, but it rarely protects those it puts under the brightest lights. Angel Reese reappeared days later, not with a statement. Not with a rebuttal, but with action. A single clip from a closed gym. No music. No captions. Just work, sweat, reps, the sound of the ball echoing off hardwood. It wasn't defiance, it was focus. The internet froze, because this wasn't the Angel they were arguing about. This was the Angel who made people believe in her in the first place. And in that moment, the question flipped. It wasn't whether she could handle the pressure anymore. It was whether the league and the audience could handle what happens next. If she channels it instead of fighting it. Because make no mistake, silence is only powerful when it's temporary. And when Angel Reese speaks again on the court, on the record, or on her own terms, it won't be to explain herself, it will be to change the story. The only thing no one knows yet is who will be ready when she does. Now it's your turn. Because this story isn't just about Angel Reese anymore. It's about the future of the WNBA and how we treat the athletes who carry it on their backs. One moment can flip a career, one narrative can bury years of work, and one player can become a symbol for everything the league is struggling to understand about fame, pressure, and power. So ask yourself this honestly. Was Angel Reese exposed? Or was she overwhelmed by a system that profits from chaos and then pretends to be shocked by it? Did Larry Bird's words end a debate? Or ignite a deeper one about who gets grace and who gets buried the moment expectations shift? The comments section is where this conversation continues. Speak freely. Was this humiliation deserved? Or was it another example of the spotlight being weaponized? Is Caitlin Clark simply better right now, or has the league already decided who it wants to protect and promote? If you believe players deserve accountability, say it. If you believe Angel Reese deserves patience and perspective, say that too. No filters, no safe takes. Hit like if you think this story is bigger than rivalry. Subscribe if you want the real breakdowns the moment they drop. Because this saga isn't over. And trust this, the next chapter is coming fast. The next chapter is coming fast.